You're listening to the Rough and Tumble Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We had breakfast not too long ago, and I feel like I have a lot of burps to get out. What about you, Bob?
I kind of do too. This coffee's not helping.
Yeah, and we drank coffee, so...
I'm going to continue to drink it, though.
You guys got to poop so hard in a minute.
I feel like no poops. I just feel like burps. What do you feel
I
like,
pooped
Bob?
the last podcast that we recorded, I was pooping half the time.
Oh, really? Man, you
Yeah, it
should have
was
said
awesome.
that. Like right at the end.
I'm going to mention it on this podcast.
Okay, good.
It's guaranteed it'll happen again.
Yeah,
Did you get to watch the fights last night?
I did, yes.
What was your opinion on it?
I thought that there was some really good fights. The Wonder Boy fight was super good. In my opinion, it was vintage Wonder Boy, like old school, because he was coming off of a knockout, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think he got knocked out his last fight.
He did, and again, I could be mistaken of whether or not it was the last fight or the fight before that, but dude, he lit that dude up. But here's the weirdest thing. We were watching it. So it was me, my son, who lives here in Colorado Springs, and two of my buddies that I'm going through the course with, and then my son's girlfriend as well. And we were watching it, and the one thing we noticed was that that Wonder Boy was being like super nice to what's the guy's name he was
Luque?
fighting? Luque, yeah.
Yeah.
Like he knocked him down like 3 times and then didn't pounce, like let him get back up. And then there were a few times where he could have easily in the last round just completely knocked him out, like at least 3 or 4 different opportunities to completely just put him away, and he didn't.
Yeah, he had him like rocked against the fence and then just didn't
Backed
really
up.
follow through. Like,
Yeah.
stopped. Yeah, that was weird.
And I think that speaks to him because I know he comes from a karate background.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks to that culture that he came from, where he knew he was winning the fight, and he knew that he was dominantly winning the fight. So I don't think he felt there was any reason to do undue damage when he was already decisively winning. You know,
He was
like
just
why?
prolonged the brain damage.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like why add insult to injury? Like, you know, respect your opponent, do what's necessary to win the fight, but no need to do more than that, you know?
Here's my question: is there was a moment in the third round, where Luque very much looked like he was done fighting. Like,
Yes.
he wasn't in trouble. He just, you could tell from his posture, from his face, the way he looked, he was just not. He wasn't in the fight anymore. He was done. And then the cut that happened with Diaz.
Yeah.
So, do you think which one do you think should have been stopped? Should it have been the brain damage or the cut?
Well, so I'm not a doctor, and apparently neither is the guy who was working as the doctor in the fights last night. So I don't think that Luque at any point was out of the fight. I think he was tired. I think that he was still intelligently defending himself. It wasn't like he was getting overwhelmed, and I think because Wonder Boy wasn't pouncing on him, that's the reason obviously he didn't get stopped. But as far as the Diaz Masvidal fight, I saw the pictures this morning of Diaz being stitched up, and that shit was fucking gnarly. Like,
yeah.
You can't, like, because my son, you know, he's, bless his heart, you know, he's a little 16-year-old kid, doesn't understand the fight game, but he does love mixed martial arts. He loves the fight game. He doesn't understand the fight game, you know, and of course he's all Diaz because he's still kind of learning about the main characters in MMA. You know, it's like whenever you get into NASCAR and all you talk about is Dale Earnhardt Jr. because you don't know that there's other badass drivers, you know. He's kind of in that stage of his development right now. So he knows Diaz, he knows Georges St. Pierre, he knows, you know, the big names, but he doesn't know he knows who Masvidal is, but he doesn't understand like where Masvidal comes from, like what the type of streak that he's coming off of, the incredible fighter that he is. And so, you know, the whole way we're walking back to the car, you know, and he's like, man, they shouldn't have stopped that fight, man. He wasn't even, you know, he was just barely bleeding. I'm like, dude, look, that shit was like blasted open. Like his whole right eye was on the verge of just hanging off, you know?
I felt the same way. I mean, I agree with you. It looked pretty rough.
I feel like I've seen worse. Honestly,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
it was bad and it was bleeding into his eye, so I get it. But at the same time, it's Nate Diaz, dude. Like,
Agreed.
you know, like
I do agree there.
I think it depends on who the doctor is. Like I told Johnny, it depends on. I mean, that's a judgment call, person to person.
And it wasn't for a title belt. It was for the baddest motherfucking.
Yeah, and that's why there's
belt.
more controversy.
Baddest motherfucker belt.
Yeah,
That's big. Like,
It is. It's
dude.
become. It's like Conor McGregor came out of fucking nowhere and decided he wants to fight for that belt. You know, like that's
Conor
gonna be the
McGregor is
new-
gonna want to fight for whatever. Yeah, that is gonna be like the new thing. That's how they're gonna end up doing like mixed weight classes and
Yes.
stuff. They're gonna have heavyweights versus Henry. They're gonna have women against Henry Cejudo. For the baddest MFer. Whoa.
They had The Rock. So it's funny because it's almost like you're seeing the precursor to this becoming the WWF, you know, because they had The Rock bring out the belt, you know, like
fucking Cain Velasquez made his WWE debut not too long ago. That's really irritating. It's really. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
It's because of the money. Like we had Bryce on a couple of episodes ago, and I haven't talked to Cole Miller about this. Actually, I just thought of it. But you know, I talked to Bryce a while back, and he made like $50,000 off of his last fight.
Mm-hmm.
And after everything was said and done, after he paid his management, after everybody that got a cut of his money,
taxes,
he only made like 10 grand.
Yeah.
$50,000 got turned into 10 grand real fucking fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at that, you look at a Cain Velasquez who's like, well, one, I can't keep fucking fighting for the rest of my life. Like at some point you have to know when to get off that train. Bodily injury wise, at least brain damage wise, you know, I think WWE wrestling or whatever is going to still fuck your body up, but like brain damage wise, at least you have that. And
I don't know, your IQ might drop a couple points just by attending.
100%, you know, and then you guys start hanging out with like low class people like my family and stuff, but like but the money like,
yeah,
because I think about this all the time, like it's not like for instance, I'll use you as an example. So like I have 5 years and I can retire from the military. Well, 6 years and I can retire from the military, which means for the rest of my life I will get a particular dollar amount for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I have medical insurance. And you, for instance, right? So you run a business, you own a school, you have these things, but what are you going to do when you're 70?
Yeah, I'm fucked. I have like none of that.
Huh?
I have like none of that. I'm fucked.
Right.
I have a Patreon.
Exactly. You're gonna switch to a retirement Patreon now.
Yeah, pay for Johnny's retirement.
But I think, you know, like guys like Cain Velasquez and all these guys, George St. Pierre, at a certain point, the UFC doesn't offer a pension plan, you know, and so these guys have got to do something because the fighting age easily has to be. I mean, I think Randy Couture was one of the few that made it into his late 40s, early 50s or whatever, but that's almost unheard of. Like you're pretty much done at like 38.
There's work to do outside of that stuff though, where they can make money too. Because I mean, like
the WWF.
Yeah, I remember. Well, there's also porn. So don't forget, War Machine did that.
Oh, that's true. He did.
Look where he ended up. What a waste of talent. He was
he beat his wife too, didn't he? Like beat like 3 of his wives.
Yeah, but like he's an attractive dude. You know, when I look at him, I was like, dude, that's an attractive dude. I would bang him. If it weren't
Roger
for the
Huerta was a dreamy character as well.
Yeah, he is. You know who I've always been oddly attracted to is Tyson Griffin. That fucking donk on him, dude. It's huge. He'd be 2 weight classes lower if he didn't have that ass.
100%.
That thing was massive.
I just want to play flip cup on it.
What were we even talking about? Shit, I got distracted on all the hot MMA fighters that I'm into.
I wish it was from 6 to midnight.
Yeah.
Whether or not Diaz, which would stop, Luque or Diaz should have been stopped, and we were kind of talking about
that was
the
ages
damage
ago.
it took.
Yeah.
Masvidal was winning that fight anyways. I don't give a fuck. Like, everybody wants to talk about, oh, they stopped it too soon. It didn't matter unless Diaz had found a knockout or submission.
No, you can't say that because the Diaz, dude, they're notorious for the 4th and 5th round. Like,
it's a 5-round fight, and Masvidal won those 3 rounds. Like I said, unless he was gonna be knocking out a badass submission or knocking him out cold, there was no chance Diaz was gonna win.
Who was it? He did that
didn't
to.
Look like he was getting tired.
He did that to Pettis in his last fight, wasn't it? Is that who he fought last? Pettis? I think so. Yeah, and
Yes, it was.
Yeah, he just poured it on him and later in the fight and ended up knocking him down after getting his ass beat for a while too, I think. If I remember correctly. I'm terrible at remembering fights, but
I just think Masvidal is just a different animal. Like, that dude is, the highlight reel they showed before the fight was all his backyard wrestling with Kimbo Slice.
Yeah.
Like, or his backyard boxing. Like, that dude's been punched in the face bare knuckles so many times. Like,
so is
people who were way bigger
the
than
Diaz bros though. That's the whole thing that makes it interesting. You know, it's like, you know that Diaz is gonna pour it on. You know that Jorge can take it, and give it right back, and you know that Diaz can take it. So it's just a matter who, and you know that like, it's those later rounds are always the Diaz rounds, and so
I'll agree.
I mean, you can't count them out.
The few times that I thought Diaz was losing credibility was when he would go to the ground and then signal for Masvidal to come down to the ground. It's like, what are you doing?
Well,
you're fighting for the baddest motherfucker on the planet belt, and you want to fucking wrestle and on the ground, you're a goddamn black belt. Like,
listen to this. I have a theory on this because this came up where he's falling back to his back and is pulling guard and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So where would you rather be? Would you rather have your back against the fence, stuck and not being able to back up or move anywhere while somebody's firing fucking haymakers at your head while you're rocked? Or would you rather fall to your back where it's harder for them to hit you and you have your legs in the way to protect yourself and your arms?
So you're asking a great question, but you're asking me what I would do in that situation. But I wasn't the one fighting for the quote-unquote baddest motherfucker on the planet belt. You know, like,
I don't think that it was necessarily a bad decision to pull guard at those moments, though. A, he was winning those exchanges. B, or some of them, there were a lot that Jorge was winning. But you know that's going to be where Diaz feels his advantages. But he most often would fall to his butt and pull guard whenever he was hurt.
Yeah.
And then that's not that bad of an idea, man. Like, it's
not a bad idea in a normal UFC fight. But I wanted to see these two dudes like bang. Like, it was East Coast versus West Coast. Bad motherfucker. You know, like,
what did fucking common average ass fan? Of course you want to watch him bang.
Oh, what the fuck ever. I'm a black belt for Jiu Jitsu.
Of course. Let me bang, bro. Let me bang.
That's the only fight in history that I've ever said, let him bang. Like, in all my years, that's the only time I've ever wanted to actually see two dudes just bang it out. Dude, it's like,
I laughed hysterically whenever Jorge pretended like he was going to throw that flying knee. Like, that was brilliant.
One of my favorite parts was whenever Diaz kicked him in the stomach and he pretended like his stomach was hurting.
Yeah. And then knocked him down or something right after that.
Yeah.
Yep. Those were good fights though. What was the fight, Bob, that we were saying was just super boring? We didn't watch hardly any
Derek
of it.
Lewis fight.
We were paying attention to Derek Lewis fight because Derek Lewis is we're Derek Lewis fans, I think.
I'm a Derek Lewis fan as well.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know that I agree that he won that fight. I honestly don't. And I'm a Derek Lewis fan.
Yeah.
He got taken down 4 times. No, 3 times. He got taken down 3 times. Understandably, he was never, in his opinion, in danger of being submitted. But the dude put him in like 2 Americanas that were pretty in depth. He had to defend to get out of them.
Both times
so
he did perfect defense to that. He did like the bridge and shoot your arm over the top.
And then there wasn't a whole lot. He wasn't landing. He was counterpunching the whole time trying to knock him out. So there wasn't a whole lot of significant strikes landed. They were fairly close on significant strikes landed and stuff like that.
I'm making a ton of noise over here. I'm sorry.
But if you look at it from like the rubric in which they were judging the fight points wise, I didn't feel like he won. I felt like if he won, it was like Nat's ass, but even then I didn't agree. And I'm a Derek Lewis fan.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he did a lot of damage. He definitely got a lot more significant.
Like by a judo.
Yeah.
Throw.
But man, he still. The funny stat to me was that he threw 37 strikes, and every single one of them was a significant strike.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like he was definitely trying to knock the dude out.
Like that's hilarious. Well, that's what he do.
It's his thing. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a Derek Lewis fan, and he's also from Louisiana. So we're practically brothers. Everybody knows that.
You have to be. Bob, which fight was it that you were saying was so boring? Do you remember?
Whichever guy's like the Superman guy or whatever.
The Superman. Oh yeah.
Thompson.
Oh, Wonder Boy. Yeah. You thought? That's right. We didn't watch much of
it. That was a great fight.
I almost fell asleep like 5 times. It just kept going on and on.
No, I don't think.
Yes.
I don't think that was the one.
It was the one.
Are you sure?
Yes.
No, there was another one. Because that was the one where the guy was getting pelted in the face the whole time and getting the shit kicked out of him. We were watching. There's one where we were just like, no, we haven't been paying attention to any of the fight.
That was the one.
The real news is did you see did you see Joe Rogan's hand when he was holding the microphone up?
All his liver spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so funny. Like almost at the exact same time when we were sitting at the table and we saw that, like me and my buddies were like, oh shit. And then we all said, get your liver spotted hands off my mother.
Mm-hmm.
It was so bad. But we think it was a bad spray tan.
Oh, that could be.
Because if you looked at his right hand when he was walking away, it was like super dark underneath his right hand.
I don't know. He's had like liver spots for quite a while.
No,
He's
it was
60-something years old.
It was Till.
It was yes, thank you.
Till.
There we go.
Yeah.
Darren
Till looks a
Till.
lot like Wonder Boy.
That fight was horrible.
They both have like way too good a bone structure to be in the UFC, especially Till.
Yeah, that
I've
was.
been told the same thing.
Right.
That fight was horrible.
That one, I just like couldn't pay attention. It was just the same thing over. Like nobody was making a move.
Right. It was. I mean, like when you watch, it was a high level striking match. That, I mean, honestly, a lot of times those are just boring to watch, especially when like somebody is just shutting down attacks and not able to capitalize off of any of it.
So we watched it at Buffalo Wild Wings. Did you guys watch it at home or something?
We watched it at a friend's house.
Oh, okay. Well, we watched it at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I love/hate watching those fights at like Hooters and Buffalo Wild Wings and stuff, because of the 52 people that are stuffed into the bar, 3 of them have any clue about what's going on.
Right.
And so like the group that was standing behind our table the whole time was like that group they were Diaz fans, but not because they understood mixed martial arts, Jiu Jitsu, or nothing. It was just because they knew that Diaz was a badass.
Mm-hmm.
And they were making all those typical comments and stuff. And then the night would not be complete at a Buffalo Wild Wings UFC event if one person didn't try to fight everybody in the room.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so there was one guy that got tossed out, and we were leaving, and the manager was opening the door for us, and she was telling the guy's friend, like, hey, if that guy tries to come back in, I'm calling the cops. Like, he's not allowed to come back to this place ever again. But I guess he was like trying to fight everybody over
That's
there.
awesome. That's all that I want in a Buffalo Wild Wings trip.
Yeah, of course.
Dude, the first time that I had ever been to Las Vegas, me and Lizzie Bop went and we were there. We weren't even there for like 5 hours. We like got off the plane, got to the hotel, and then we went down to the pool. And as soon as we got there, this guy like took a like one of those lawn chairs or whatever, like the pool chairs. He had taken one, and this girl walked up and was like, "Hey, that's our chair," or whatever. And she like, I guess, got up in his face, and he pushed her face, and her feet just went completely out from underneath her, and like just bounced off the concrete. And
did it knock her out?
No, I mean, like she was rocked for sure. I don't think she was out cold, was she, Bob?
No, her head didn't bounce.
She bounced.
Yeah, she bounced.
No, I don't think
her head wasn't like, she wasn't like in a concussion or something.
No. I thought that the whole pool was gonna get behind me on it, and like I had already had some drinks in me, and I like stood up and I was like, "Fuck that guy! Like, he just hit a girl, he pushed her down." And it turned out I was the only one that was gonna go to that level on it. Like, everybody else was just sitting down like, "Oh shit." And meanwhile, I'm across the pool screaming and pointing my finger at him. And
I would have had your back.
Yeah. Lizzie's like, "Whoa, you need to chill." Like, nobody else is on that level. Like, they're all taking care of it.
They were, but they were on the other side of the pool.
Yeah.
Her like group of friends were like,
everything in that little area was going crazy, but I was like all the way on the other side of the pool watching it and screaming at people. But
I don't know why anybody would ever do that. Like it blows my mind that a man would ever put his hand on a woman like that. And you always hear people say, "Oh, well, if she's man enough to hit a man, then she deserves it." It's like, no, fucking no, she doesn't. I'm sorry. Like, if a 5-year-old child starts punching you in the legs, that doesn't mean you get to soccer kick him across the room.
The most...
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know if I agree with that.
Man, they can fucking take it like a man. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Just kick him across the room.
Just punt
Pick him up and punt him. Kick the baby.
like
in the Anchorman where they punted Baxter.
Yeah.
They're just punting children. I don't think anybody should hit anybody, whether it's a man or a woman. I don't think
see, that's where you and I disagree.
Yeah.
But
okay.
But you are on a podcast.
I mean, I'm talking about like in a relationship, or like, I mean, if like if a dude is like
also that's where you and I disagree. No, I'm just kidding.
If someone like, if you're out and like a situation happens where a guy's doing that to a girl, obviously like you'd want to step in and protect that person. But I mean, like, as far as like a relationship goes, like, you're talking about like men hitting women, but women should also not hit men.
I understand. I as a man who has been hit by many women,
Jonny
I agree.
can speak to that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was.
I 75% agree with that.
Jonny kind of likes it though.
Too.
Yeah, I kind of like the drama.
Jonny likes that very like aggressive drama sometimes, but it's weird. But then he doesn't. He says he does, but then he really doesn't.
Yeah,
He's too much of a wimp.
Jonny shows up at the gym with a black eye, and he's like, "It was my fault."
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I've been close to that. I think it's like the most disrespectful thing in the world for a girl. Well, like for the female to hit the male because they have the sole confidence that they're not going to hit him back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
They have that much confidence in that, oh, he'd never hit a woman, and that becomes like okay for them to hit the male. I've kind of been in that situation, and it fucking sucks.
It does. And like Liz said, like, I agree, in a relationship especially, you should neither one of you should be putting your hands on either one of each other,
unless it's consensual.
Look,
unless it's consensual, yeah, of course.
If if I saw some girl like going up to Jonny like sexually, I don't know. Like I don't know. I'm not like a jealous person, and I don't like if some girl's like talking to Jonny, it's not gonna offend me, and I'll probably talk to her too. But like if it's like blatant, like obvious, and like especially if it's like someone I know or like someone that's supposed to be like a friend or something, like I would probably take someone out. I don't care.
Now, when you say that if they came up,
If it was like an
sexually.
obvious like
If they just had like
Like,
their
got their
hand out,
computer
or
out?
grab me right in the
grabbed him
goods.
right in the nutsack or something like that, I'd
It
be
was just
like,
like,
what the fuck?
and then like looked at Liz and like then was like, these are mine now.
Like if I was excluded from this trio situation, then I would be pretty upset about it. Like if it was like a blatant situation, that's probably the only time that I would like go after somebody. If it was, and it wouldn't even have to be John, just
But
like a
only if you
blatant
were
situation.
excluded.
Like someone's disrespecting me like that, where they know they shouldn't be.
You remember the second time in Las Vegas at the pool that we went to, and like the girl and the guy came over.
Yeah. What
started
about
talking
it?
to us. I'm pretty sure that's what was going on there.
What do you mean?
You guys were gonna have an indecent proposal.
I think so. Yeah.
Nobody
gonna
was
offer
gonna
you $1
be
million
excluded
to play
though.
pool.
I screwed it up because I went to go get my beer.
Yeah, nobody was being excluded though. That's completely different. That was very much like a swinger situation.
Yeah, that was weird. We got roped into like a.
That's so weird that you say that because I
Swinger
was
situation.
thinking about that yesterday.
It was a little bit strange.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been hilarious if like they come up, like Lizzie's like off to the side and they come up to you and like it's this whole like obvious indecent proposal situation where it's like they want you to bang his wife and stuff like that. And then you guys get up to the room and it's actually just a timeshare thing where like
They're looking for. Hey, if you stick around, we'll give you like a free blowjob.
yeah, like
That's the
they're
deal.
just trying to get you to buy into their timeshare.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Topless
and then there's another couple
pools.
on the bed that were like, you fell for it too, huh?
Topless pools at Caesar's Palace are not what you might think that they would be.
It was very.
No, because 75-year-old
Hope
women
people-
like to use those too.
Yes.
That's all that likes to use them is
It was
women
rough.
women that you would see on the back of a Harley Davidson. That was literally the only women that were in there. And I'm telling you, they had some fucking rough boob jobs.
It was just
Oh,
like
yeah.
a lot of like leather skin, I think is what Johnny's trying
Leather
to say. It was just
skin.
like
There was
like one and like
a lot.
I mean, like, obviously you should be, like, proud of whatever you've got, but, like, there was some, like, really interesting symmetry going on with breasts.
I
and
didn't realize that they came in
butts.
so many shapes.
I didn't either.
There's like trapezoids. There's
It was just very, like, it was just really off-putting. I was like, wow, this is, like, something that I
Always-
never wanted to see.
I always wondered if women go to the doctor, like the plastic surgeons, and they're like, the doctor's like, so what are you looking for? And they're like, okay, so you know how like, you see how you can see my breastplate? So can you put two tits on each side of my breastplate, but I still want you to be able to see my breastplate.
These women I think went in and were like, can you get like a half-filled trash bag full of water and pop one of those in there, but then make the other one like only a quarter-filled trash bag. It was so rough. The only people that were even close to our age come swimming over and literally go, hello, beautiful strangers.
Oh, they said that?
Yeah, that's what the girl
Whoa,
said.
I didn't
She
remember
said,
any of
hello,
that.
beautiful stranger. Yeah, you were really drunk.
I wasn't. I wasn't really drunk.
I think you were.
I wasn't. You were the one that was drunk.
No,
You were.
you had no, you were drunk.
I wasn't.
Whatever.
Okay.
Anyways,
We had like a bucket of beer and you drank most of them.
and you had like whatever, the Long Island iced tea or something.
Oh, that'll get you going.
No.
Yeah, you had something like that, or a big margarita, something like that.
No,
yeah.
we did the bucket of beer, Bob.
I do
Because it
remember
came
the
with
bucket
our,
of beer.
like, those day beds.
Yeah,
That was like one of the package
remember
things that you could get.
and then you ordered a margarita. But anyways,
Okay. The point was I wasn't drunk. I knew exactly what was going on, and I wanted to get out of there.
Yeah. Oh, it was pretty
I
uncomfortable.
remember the gist of the conversation, but I also knew like I wasn't into it. So, and then you left me. I was like, what the fuck? I'm not sticking around
No,
here.
I went to go get our bucket of beers because we left them at the thing, at the
Yeah, but you were gone
chair.
a while.
Because I came back.
He was banging another couple.
Yeah, I found another swingers couple. No, when I came back, we're not swingers, by the way. So let's clear throw that out there before we get
DMs from soon.
Yeah. No, when I came back with the bucket of beers, they were like, "You can't have those. You can't bring those in here."
Right.
And I was like, "Oh
well,
shit."
I also didn't hear you say that that's what you were gonna do, so I was really confused.
Yeah.
I was like, where did he go?
I think I mumbled it or something.
You did, and
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta get out of here right away.
And I only had one beer left, so I was like, "Well, I'm just gonna chug it, and then I'll go." And then in the middle of chugging it, you came out. And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
You know, the only benefit to it's probably the only benefit to doing this podcast the way we've been doing it over the phone is that I can take a poop and still do the podcast.
Beautiful.
Right now.
Is that what you're doing right now?
Yeah.
Great.
And you guys can't even tell. Like, I don't even sound different.
I hear an echo.
Do you mute the phone anytime the poop drops so we don't hear it?
I can't make any promises, but what I will do is I'll cough.
Okay, gotcha.
So what? This totally changes the vibe of the podcast now.
Does it?
Good.
What? So since it's our 10th episode, our 10 episode anniversary, I had a question for everybody, like kind of a couple round table
Is this our
questions.
season finale?
The round table, but Mitch isn't here. He's on the toilet.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on a round table.
I heard something.
Yeah, I definitely heard
Oh,
something.
that coughed. That was me. I coughed.
Oh, God
Yes.
damn it. Okay. What is the hardest thing about... We're making a lot of noise over
Yeah.
here, too.
Sorry. everyone.
What is the hardest thing that you've found about podcasting since we've started?
Nothing. This has been the easiest
Nothing.
thing I've ever done in my life.
Next
Really?
question.
There's nothing.
Yes.
There's nothing like even just in conversating and learning how to do that.
No.
No,
Wow.
and here's why.
I'm putting a lot more effort
and
into
here's
this
why.
than you guys are.
Mitch is like, okay.
Well, because if there's one thing that I think A, our fans, B, Lizzie, and C, all my friends and students would tell you is that I talk way too fucking much. And so I don't have a problem talking. And so I think that's why it's been so easy for me. And two, you do all the editing. You have all the equipment. I bought one microphone. Like, this has been the easiest project of my life. I have not had to
You're
do
literally
anything.
pooping right now.
Yeah, I'm taking a shit right now. And like, literally nothing has been difficult about this. I honestly, and I think a lot of people would agree, somehow, you and I, Johnny and myself, just have a really good dynamic with being able to have long conversations that don't stop and stay fairly dynamic.
Right.
So it's a pretty good yin and yang off of that. And I'm getting better at not talking. I'm getting a lot better at listening. Much better.
It's funny that podcasting is an exercise in listening for you and not talking. Because for me,
See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, that's the kind of, like, you couldn't find a better pair of people to do podcasts. So that would be the hardest part for you then, is just learning how to listen. Right. Yeah.
Okay. So what I was thinking for me was learning that we can do like whatever the fuck we want. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we want to talk about whatever, like we're talking about sungazing this episode, and
Correct.
only because I just watched stupid YouTube videos on conspiracy theories. And then I'm like,
100%.
Let's talk about that. Deal. Done.
And yeah, you were really in the beginning. It's funny, when we first started the podcast, I remember how organized we tried to be.
Yeah.
And like, we had outlines and we had like this and that, and you were like, oh, you can't say this, and oh, we got to be careful about saying that.
Right.
And then
And then Lizzie
episode
came
3 or
on the
4.
podcast and fucked it all to hell.
Yeah, and then it just like we're like, fuck it, we'll just say whatever.
Well, I was really concerned about, like saying the wrong things, offending somebody and doing all that. And this is another thing that I had been thinking about recently, actually, because it's like, what makes it okay for me to say something just horribly offensive to you when if it came out of somebody else's mouth, you might actually take offense to it. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's because we understand each other's intentions.
Right,
and
exactly.
Part of what doing the podcast does is help identify our intentions. People understand that, like, I say these outrageous, stupid things to be funny, not because, oh, geez, these burps are getting me. Holy
I
crap.
told you.
Woo!
Get them out of your body.
They're intense.
We
need to drink some Sprite. I just want to like gobble up some Sierra Mist.
I just got attacked by a burp. So rough.
Well, I think too, it's like this is how we would talk just without the microphones.
Yeah.
And I think that's like what people like about podcasting is it's supposed to be a genuine conversation.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely still topics that we can't touch, but
yeah,
of course.
It's been an interesting exploration of it. Okay, so what's been the most like fascinating or interesting thing that you've found since you started podcasting?
That people think we're funny.
Yeah. That people identify with things that we say in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, because I still have the text message. Like our very first conversation 10 weeks ago today, honestly. Well, actually, it was probably more like
we had a couple weeks before we started. Yeah,
because it was like 2 weeks when we were planning it, and I still remember. I was like, I figured, I asked myself, who could I hang out with that could also make me laugh? And I was like, Jonny Wester. And that was the reason I texted you. Like, and that has been exactly what this has been. It's just like, I just wanted to hang out with somebody that I could talk to about stuff that I was interested in, who could also make me laugh, and also I could say whatever I wanted and like, they would get it,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's okay because I get it for sure. It's a match made in heaven. I think definitely like just seeing that I had a guy message me after the last episode, one of our followers, that was like, dude, I'm pretty sure we've had like this same upbringing because he was straight edge back in the day and like had this, that, and the other kind of similar backgrounds. But it's just interesting to hear about people that identify with things that I thought were unique to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that it makes me realize that we aren't as special as we think we are, but that's what makes us special. You know what I'm saying? Is like, all of these little things that I think are only unique to me, other people identify with, and that's what kind of connects us and makes us
I think
special.
It's neat. The different, there are so many different aspects and dynamics to this relationship and to this podcast. Like you were talking about because I remember you telling me about the guy you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe he found the podcast through Reddit or whatever it was. But you talk about straight edge, and like that is what drew him to you, which drew him to the podcast. And then I've got friends, whether they be students or people that I've met through Brazilian Jiu Jitsu or people that I work with, things like that. It's like those drew people to me, which drew them to the podcast, and then the fact that we're both Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belts, that drew a certain audience, and it's interesting because the same things that we talk about in regards to the dynamic and multicultural facets of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, it's like we've created that also in a podcast.
Yeah, we've been benefiting from it. Speaking of which,
absolutely.
Who the fuck out there is listening from Finland? We have like a small fan base in Finland. Whoever you are,
really?
What's up?
Like one person from Finland or like multiple people?
No, I think multiple, but there's not really any way for me to tell for sure. We have quite a few listens like a handful of listens from Finland, and
That's crazy.
we have a couple
'cause my
from
buddy
Australia too.
Alex Smith, we talk about him every here and there.
Mhm.
You know, the one that's in the military in England and the UK. I know he promotes.
He's been passing it around.
Yeah, he's been passing it around all over the United Kingdom, and he's in the military there. So you know that's super cool. It's you know, speaking of, by the way, Lizzie, I tried playing that that game that you like to play.
Crossy Road.
I got to like 45. Stop playing. Don't give a fuck anymore. Way
Oh.
too hard.
Yeah.
Super hard game.
We started playing it on the Amazon Fire Stick.
That's
With
right.
this Fire Stick, it was incredibly difficult. And then I started playing it on the iPad, and it was just like I was sucked in for life. I liked Frogger,
I've tried so many times.
and this is like an updated version of Frogger, pretty much.
It is, and I can see how people would enjoy that game.
But you
I
no
would
go.
I hate that you have to start over. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I get that's the point of the game, but like I was like cruising along. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna so beat Lizzie's ass, and then I get to like 45, and I was like, she's unstoppable.
I think my
Nobody could
highest
ever
score
beat
is like 2,000. It's around
That's insane.
2,000. Yeah.
It is so insane.
Yeah.
What?
So, but anyway, what made me think of that was I started playing a game where it's like you're in control of this virus and you spread it throughout the world.
Oh yeah, Plague Inc.
Yeah, Plague. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite games to play right now.
That's fun. Have you like gone through a full game yet?
Yeah. Well, I've gotten the virus, and now I'm in a fungus. I haven't beaten any. I haven't been able to kill anybody with a fungus yet.
I got you.
I'm trying.
I've been playing.
But,
this is Call of Duty mobile on
I
the
haven't played that
phone.
one yet.
Dude, they actually nailed it. They did really good job with it.
Really?
And I'm apparently really good at it. I didn't know, but I guess I am.
Thank you for your service.
You know, it's a hard job, but somebody's got to do it.
That's right.
Anybody out there playing Call of Duty Mobile, hit your boy up. No, like they did a good job with it. Have you ever played like a first person shooter? Do you understand what that is? Where you're like, it looks like the screen is your vision, basically. Do you know what I'm talking about? No, have
I
lost
assume you're
you?
talking to Lizzie.
No, I'm
No.
talking to you.
No,
Mitchell.
every time he
Talking to
plays
me?
it, he has to let me know how well he's doing. So yeah, I know what he's
Yeah,
talking about.
because I fucking kick ass at it. I don't know what the deal is.
I'm the best ever.
Why would
That's-
in 2019, how would I not know what a first-person shooter was?
Okay,
yeah, that was
okay.
kind of a.
I didn't know he doesn't play video games.
Even I know that.
Okay.
No, I said
I'm
I
sorry.
wasn't good at video games, therefore I don't play them.
I
But
didn't mean to be condescending. I'm sorry.
No, I only play 16-bit graphic and 8-bit graphic games.
Do you know what a first-person shooter is?
Anyway,
Sorry.
GoldenEye was the king.
Say what?
GoldenEye was the first
That's
first-person
true.
shooter I ever
Yeah,
played.
I forget.
That's where I learned how to screen watch.
Yeah, GoldenEye was legit. That
Then it was
the-
Halo. I spent a lot of years murking people on Halo, and then Halo got out of hand.
I never really got into the multiplayer
Oh,
on
God,
Halo.
I did.
Okay, anyways, so they did that on the iPhone, and typically that's really difficult because of the touch controls. But somehow they just got it this time, and it worked.
I played PUBG for a long time.
Oh yeah, because
Bruno
Bruno plays it.
Cesar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he plays it so much that his wife, I think that they've almost gotten divorces over that because he is completely obsessed with it. But I just kind of fell out with it. I used to be really into it. I played it a lot. I played it like multiple times a day,
Mhm.
and then I just kind of got bored with it and stopped.
I go through phases. Have I ever gotten into a video game too much? Where you like have been like, oh, I'm gonna break
the only
up
thing
with
that
this
I've
guy.
seen you get really
Loser.
into is with Fortnite.
Yeah,
You and Dylan.
we get
I never
pretty
got
hype
into
on that.
Fortnite. My stepdaughter got really into Fortnite. And a lot of people were like, oh, you'd love Fortnite. It's just like PUBG. No, it's not, because you have to build
The
fucking stupid
building is
building.
insane.
It's dumb. I just want to blow shit up. Like I'm
Yeah.
pretty aggro when it comes to what I want out of a video game.
I have no tactic. I just run in, guns blazing.
That's me.
I'm not hiding behind a wall. Fuck that.
My son used to talk shit about me because we'd play Battlefield together, and that like I'm that way. I'm like, I just run straight toward the center and just start shooting everybody.
Yep.
And I would die instantly.
I'm bad at those kinds of games, really. You know what game though? This is a game for fucking 10-year-olds, but it is a time sucker for me. Is Minecraft.
I never got into that either. My son thought I got
Can't
huge into that too.
stand that.
It's such a stupid, childish game, but it's
I
like
don't even understand it.
okay.
It's not a game.
Let
You're
me
just,
explain.
It's not.
You're just
You
building.
just build Legos.
Yeah, it's like a Lego.
There's two modes. Okay, there's
Like
survival.
super gay.
Yeah, there's survival mode, which is like you there's like you have to try to like maintain your health and so on and so forth, and then creative mode where you can just build whatever you want, and that's the one that I like to do. It's so much. It's like relaxing. It's ASMR.
There's no.
Yes.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's relaxing for me. Just like I'll just sit there and I'll get an idea of like I want to build a castle, and then I'll just sit there, and all of a sudden 12 hours has gone by.
12 hours.
I've built some ridiculous. You've seen like the crap that I've built on there. It's it's stupid. I only reserve that game for whenever I'm like super sick and I can't leave the bed or leave the couch or whatever. Like when I had those
You know
dental
why?
surgeries.
The reason I never got into any of those games
Because
was
you're an
exactly
adult.
for what you just said. Because you said, oh, yeah. And I know that you were exaggerating, but when you're like, yeah, it's like 12 hours later. I have 700 kids.
Yeah.
I don't even, like, between me and my fiance, her more so than me, obviously, because at least I can go to work and get a break. But, like, we don't get 30 minutes of rest between ourselves,
Yeah, that makes sense.
you know, and so that's probably a big piece of that. Plus, my kids don't really get into that. Like, my stepdaughter, she routinely plays Fortnite and Minecraft, things like that. But really, I'm blessed in the sense that my kids just want to go outside and fucking play. Like,
Yeah.
they don't. None of my daughters, except my stepdaughter, but none of my blood daughters have iPads. They don't have iPhones. They don't have any electronic devices at all.
Oh, that's so great.
It's pretty, like, I have this video on my phone of my daughter Reagan, who is my 6-year-old, and it was when Julianne was pregnant with our youngest daughter Avi. We were at the hospital, or we were at the doctor, and I started looking at Reagan. So we're sitting in a doctor's exam room. She's getting her little monitor on her stomach and stuff like that, you know, and Reagan, my 5-year-old at the time, is sitting in a chair on a bar stool type deal, and she's got these little sticks in her hand that she got, and she was pretending like she was a wizard, waving them around the room, you know, but not running around the room,
Yeah.
staying in her seat, entertaining herself. And I videotaped it, or I videoed it on my phone, because it was an example of what children are supposed to do. You know, this is what a child who is not sucked into a tablet looks like. A child who knows how to use their imagination to entertain themselves and not flip desks over inside of a doctor's office and scream and throw fits and eat their shoes. Like, I've
Eat
seen
their
so
shoes.
many shitty ass kids in doctor's offices, and I'm not blaming it on the parents, but the last I checked, it's the parents' fault. Like 100%. You know, like, shitty kids are made. They are not born, you know.
I was always a pretty docile child, and I still kind of am. I think Johnny's somewhat of that way now. He wasn't when he was
Now?
younger.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
not-
he is.
now.
He's a lot more calmed down. But my stepmom
school,
would
he was
always say, like,
Putting bottle rockets in kids' assholes.
like I said, now, not then.
Yeah.
But my stepmom would say, I would just be in the back seat of the car with a coloring book or drawing something, and I would just do that for hours and hours. Like, that's all I would do. Like, if you gave me like a pen and paper,
See, I can.
and I'm doing it right now. Like, anytime that I just have a creative outlet, I'm
doodling?
I'm good. Yeah.
I can, if it's the right creative outlet, I can zone
You
out for
are.
long
I mean,
enough.
you'll be on your iPad Pro and like drawing. Johnny draws a lot too. We're-
And Johnny's creativeness is what is, I need that in a business partner, because it's what allows this business to be successful. I'm creative, I just don't have the technology to be creative with it. So I rely on Johnny and Johnny's money
I
to
have
do
the
that.
steady hands and technology to achieve it. um, like for the longest, I struggle with it because again, I have a hard time like allowing myself to do some of those things. For instance, like playing video games. It took me a long time for me to be like, you know what, it's fucking okay that I like to play video games and I like to just sit down and zone out for a little bit and play video games. It's the same that I don't really watch all that much TV. Like I don't, even at night, I mean, we'll watch a movie or a TV show.
You only watch TV when you're sleeping.
Yeah, to go to sleep, I have to have something on.
I think it's important for you to do all those things now before we're like Mitch and have a bunch of kids and we can't ever do those things again.
Yeah, but I'll teach my kids to play video games. My dad played video games and still does. That's who I learned it from.
See, I never had that growing up. I never had any gaming system in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we didn't have iPads back then. And the only I won a PSP at like this radio it was like a radio show hosting at my dad's old restaurant.
That's a legit fucking gift to win, especially for like when
I
they
was
were
so
popular.
excited. I was like,
That's
oh my
huge.
God, because you know how much I like games and gaming, and I was never allowed to do it. So I won the PSP, and it was so cool because at the time it was like the first version, and you could also watch DVDs.
Put music on it and shit. Yeah.
And I just thought it was like the most amazing thing, and but then also like at the same time, because it was like such a no-no in my household, I wanted to do it like
even more.
Yeah, when I went to a friend's house, like I would stay up till like 2 a.m. just playing video games. I think it's a balance.
I have a lot of really great memories with my dad with video games. And then I have a lot of memories too of my dad like getting a video game and just completely zoning me out and ignoring me. And so like I totally understand that part too. Like I'm pretty sure when we got Zelda on Super Nintendo, I spent probably 2 hours just being like, Dad, can I play? Dad, can I play? And him just not responding.
But dude, it's Zelda. Like that's not a game that you can just be like, okay, it's your turn. Like,
yeah. Well, I didn't understand that at the time.
Exactly. I remember when Zelda came out, like it was in my family. And when I say in my family, I don't just mean like my mom and dad. I mean like my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, everybody. Like that game became like this centerpiece because everybody was like, you know, I'd go over to my aunt's house and she'd have the game going, you know, and like I would hear like my family members talk about, yeah. So you got to go here and you got to put the bomb here because if you blow this part up, you can go into the cave. And like, I just remember like they were passing these strategic walkthroughs back and forth and stuff. And I just remember that being a centerpiece. And then a buddy of mine at work has one of those updated Nintendo consoles, you know.
The Nintendo Switches, or like an.
No, it's not a Switch, but it's
like a Super Nintendo or whatever. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, and he let me borrow that, and it's so funny. Julianne was making fun of me because I just really wanted to play Zelda, so I borrowed it from him like a year ago, and I was playing through it, and but you couldn't save the game for some reason.
That's irritating.
So you had to leave it running. Yeah. And on top of that, the reason she was making fun of me is because I would get stuck and have to get on Google and do the walkthroughs on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Lizzie Bob's been doing that with Mario lately.
Yeah, when we were growing up, you had to go to Walmart and buy the walkthrough book.
Yeah.
Because they used to sell the book that would give you the walkthroughs. And then one of my kids apparently would mess up the fucking game and I would start over again. And so I tried to beat it like 4 times and every time it would get restarted. And it's not a game that you can, when you've made it that far, you can't start over.
No.
Like you just give up on life. You're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not even going to try anymore.
I don't think it's the newest one, but the Breath of the Wild Zelda on Nintendo Switch, that game is like, I think that's a masterpiece. That game is beautifully done. One of the best games of all time for sure. It's up there with Red Dead Redemption 2.
If you could pick
amazing. Go ahead.
3 games throughout history, not just 3 games modern day, but like 3 games throughout history of your history that you had to go to a desert island with, and you could only play those 3 games, what would it be?
Grand Theft Auto 5. Fucking love that game. I played that game. It's been out, I think, for like 7 years, and I've played it since the day it came out. Super Mario World, like the one that came out on Super Nintendo with Yoshi.
Oh yeah, with Yoshi and all
the
that.
capes and all that stuff. Yeah. And maybe like Red Dead Redemption 2. Or shit, what's another game that I play a lot? I don't know, Minecraft maybe. I would find hours of entertainment with that. It's one of those games that like it's kind of one of those things where you're limited to the stuff that you're able to do, but because of that, it makes the creative possibilities like endless. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like a little bit like drawing. All you have is a pen and a piece of paper, but with those 2 things, you can create like just anything with your imagination. And so like sometimes the more limits that you have unlocks more creative potential. That's kind of how I feel about it. But we have a question from somebody. Give me like 2 seconds and I'll pull it up here. We'll talk about it. Stephanie asked us, so she messaged us and she said, I'm a big fan of the show. I have a 2-part question. What do you guys think of women who train in BJJ? And how do you guys feel about men/women that don't start BJJ until their 30s or 40s? My response was, thank you so much. To answer your question, they're all scumbags and undeserving to train. And
that was your response?
Yeah. Well, and then I said, JK, haha, I'll make sure we cover it on the next episode.
JK, haha.
And then she never responded to me. So
I wouldn't either.
I hope she got the joke.
Anyway, if she didn't,
so what's your answer?
When she listens to this episode.
If she does listen to this episode.
I just told you.
Yeah, she will. She will. Stephanie's great. She used to train at Westside, and she's a really good photographer, actually. She dabbles in photography and does really good work. And she's got a son with special needs, and he's kind of a badass. When that kid realizes how big he is, the world is his, man. Because I know that he's dealt with bullying and stuff. He's like a giant teddy bear. I've met him a couple times, and he's got some of the best dad jokes in the world, and he's not a dad. Like some of it, he tells like these jokes that I would consider to be dad jokes, but he's a massive human being. But he's like the nicest kid in the world. He's at least as tall as Johnny, and probably 220, 230 pounds. I mean, he's a big kid. But he's the nicest kid in the world. So when that kid figures life out, there's not going to be a bully on the planet that'll fuck with him. But yeah, Stephanie's cool. So I'm sure she probably understood the joke. If she's listening to any of the podcasts, she has to know. Yeah,
please know my humor.
So what's the answer?
The first question is, what do you think of women who train in BJJ? And Mitch, I'll let you go ahead.
Okay. I think that it's phenomenal. I think that it's great that women has started training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because they're, I don't care one way or the other. What I mean by that is I don't look at jiu-jitsu as like a male-dominated sport or a male-dominated self-defense system. If you look at it from a self-defense aspect, I think it's great for women because of the positions that they find themselves in within the rolling portion of it. You're finding yourself in what we would call non-dominant positions and learning how to get into a more advantageous or more dominant position, utilizing technique and leverage and things like that. So I think it's great. But I don't feel any more toward women training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as I would if they were training Krav Maga or Judo or any other grappling art or any other self-defense system. I think that women 100% should be training some form of self-defense. whether it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or not. And so if they choose to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, then more power to them, because I think that it provides the most realistic opportunity for them. And I don't just mean because of the positions they find themselves in, literally in a sense, but also because of the cognitive responses that you develop in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think are fantastic for women and children, in the sense that you find yourself in very, 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 very uncomfortable positions. And over time, you learn to cognitively develop your ability to remain calm and work yourself through the problems to get out, as opposed to panicking. And I think for women especially, it's very important that they have that ability to be able to think through a problem. Let's say it was a sexual assault scenario. As someone who has 5 daughters, believe me, these are things that I think about. Panic is always going to be the enemy, in so many ways. And like, there's Grossman has his module that he talks about with the different levels, and panic being in that level between all these different places. Like they say we operate most successfully in the gray, black being really bad, and then like most people walk around in yellow or whatever. Anyway, so if you look at Grossman's model, he talks about these things. But the reality is being able to control your panic button in situations like that, to be able to get yourself into a dominant position, or at least in a safe position. So that's why I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is great. And so that's my answer to the first part of the question. So I'll let you answer.
So your answer is boring and non-controversial. Is what my response to that is. Here's
100%.
Here's what I feel about women in BJJ. I think that our differences as humans really shine in jiu-jitsu, and I think that so many people try in everything else in our lives, we try to like find the things that are common, and in jiu-jitsu we get to find the things that are different and then use those and try to build a game by our personal attributes that make us different, right? And so I think women should be celebrated in the things that they can do differently that a lot of the men can't. Like a lot of the women are really flexible. I know a lot of these girls that are like just stupid fierce, way more fierce than you would see some of these some of the dudes, and things like that. And they smell nicer, they're prettier, they're usually smarter, they bring more class to the mats. But it's tough. Like it's a rough world to be in for a girl on the mats. On one side of the coin, I think that they're sometimes overprotected on the mats. They don't get exposed to as much of the rough grappling, or like, you know, if there's a spaz on the mats, I'm not, you know, I'm watching my girls, like I want to make sure that, you know, they're okay, that kind of thing. And so then sometimes too, I think that I don't know, that's a whole nother topic. Anyways, I think that it's a tough situation to be in, to be grappling, being on the mats as a female. And I have tremendous amounts of respect for anybody that comes in to a gym to try it out. There are things that girls have found to make it easier on themselves, and to jumpstart their careers in fighting and jiu-jitsu. Things like Instagram and those kinds of things. And I don't know how I feel about it. I think that, like, on one hand, it's like, do whatever you want with your body. Like, that's fine. But on the other hand, it's kind of like, oh, that's not really fair to those who are, like, working hard and actually trying to progress in the sport and do well at it, you know?
Isn't that kind of like how all life goes, though?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I can't hate on it, but
it's kind of, that's always just like sex always sells.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing in life.
If anybody knows that, it's me.
Right.
But I don't have sex. That's the problem. I can't sell it.
I want to sell it, but nobody wants to buy it.
Right.
Jonny, you did have an offer, and you turned it down.
That wasn't for
so,
sex.
was just
I
take
would
pictures of
argue
being
that
home.
it probably was.
I think it could have gone to that level if you had really given it an
Oh,
opportunity.
absolutely.
If I would have tried hard and believed in myself.
If you take all your vitamins and eat 3 square meals a day.
Yeah. I think, for women on the mats. And one thing that actually I've been kind of wanting to bring up and suggest that we go into is the whole Me Too movement didn't lay a finger on the jiu-jitsu community. And I think it would ravage the whole fucking community.
When you say that, are you kind of referring to like the Lloyd Irvin stuff?
Definitely referring to the Lloyd Irvin stuff, first of all.
Yeah.
That stuff infuriates me to no end. But just in general, there's so many. I know for a fact, because I've seen it with my own 2 eyes, that there's got to be thousands of claims of sexual assault from thousands of different coaches coming out. You know,
I'm sure, and obviously, no names will be mentioned.
Unless they've already been busted for it, then I'll throw names out.
You and I know individuals outside of the state of Arkansas mutually that have had those scenarios, who took advantage of those scenarios because of their position in the gym, because of who they were and their relationship to the students, utilized that very much so to gain power over the students. Now, the students were, to my knowledge, willing participants, but so there's a double-edged sword. You can look at it and go, well, they're adults. They made the choices on their own. Yes, but the instructor knows their position and they know their place in the world.
The manipulative tactics that were used in order.
Don't tell me that you were not being manipulative whenever you decided to pursue that entity, right?
Yeah.
And so I know personally, and again, I won't mention any names because we're both friends with people within these communities and stuff, and I personally am just not going to call anyone out. You know, they know what they did, they know why they did it, and the people around them know what they did, so that's enough. But yeah, I can think of 2 to 3 specific incidences where that has been the case.
Yeah.
With people that you and I both know personally, or at least communitively.
I don't think that it's hit the jiu-jitsu community quite the way that it's needed to. There needs to be like some cleaning of house that I think needs to be done throughout and I'm not talking about one situation in particular. I'm talking about just through the whole jiu-jitsu community, because there's a lot of like, dude, I get it, like hooking up in the gym is one thing, or like, you know, even like single guys just being whores with girls that are coming in and out of the gym, whatever, like that's what you're doing. That's probably not good for business, but cool, like, you know, whatever. But to the level that some of these people are doing, and to the tactics that are used in order to do some of these things are
in all
disgusting.
The same type of things happen, in my opinion, more so, or maybe it's just more spotlighted, but in the Taekwondo community.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It is hugely highlighted.
I'll say the one thing that I feel is different about the jiu-jitsu community, because I don't think that it's going on any more in our community than it is anywhere else in any other community or any other niche. I feel that it hasn't been brought up in our community. But the one thing that I will say is that the community, the people in the community as a whole, are very anti. It's a lot like we keep drawing comparisons to the hardcore and punk scene. Like, they're very protective of people. They're, you know, like, you screw up and the people in this community find out that you screw up, you're in for it. It just hasn't.
Unless you're Lloyd Irvin, in which case you can actually do all the
gold
really
medals.
Things.
I blame Flow Grappling on that a lot. Honestly, they still support them. They still promote them, and push them. Yeah, I don't think that it's right. I don't think that they should get the same attention that everybody else gets.
So
But-
why do you think there hasn't been like that type of movement in the jiu-jitsu or
I don't
martial
know.
art community? Is it because it's
Yeah, in the martial art community in general, especially like traditional martial arts in general, I think I don't want to say are known, but don't have a strong track record for sexual misconduct in one way, shape, or form. And I feel like jiu-jitsu should be setting itself apart from that and has done a fairly good job of it. Part of it is cultural. Like when we go to Brazil, they don't interact with women the same way that we do here or they do here. So, or what's acceptable here. So I think part of it's that. And then I don't know why it hasn't hit the jiu-jitsu community.
do you feel like it's mostly because it is women are outnumbered?
Yeah, and it's people are probably pretty afraid to.
I'm so sorry.
I've been doing it too. I've been hitting the microphone and everything. This is gonna be a noisy episode, but I think that people are also afraid to call out these people too. Maybe it's their instructor. It's gonna cause a lot of drama. They won't have a place to train at.
Yeah. Especially if you're in a small community and everybody knows everybody.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if that happened in Conway, and
Yeah.
you shut down 50% of the gyms if you shut down one of them. So it's like I could see why people might be afraid to say things or just maybe just shut up and go to a different gym or something.
If it were me, I probably just would never come back.
Yeah. And also, what are you
I
gonna?
do want to mention,
What are you gonna do?
just so that like there's never any confusion on this. I know I was being extremely ambiguous earlier about the people that I was referencing that you and I know that have had these types of incidents occur in their gym. Neither one of our gyms have had, to my knowledge, either one of those types of scenarios.
No.
So I don't want anyone thinking like I'm being ambiguous about my own gym or Johnny's gym. Like, to my
that's
knowledge,
a good point.
neither one of our gyms have had anything like that. I was referring to out of state
Yeah.
gyms that I'm aware of.
And there's a handful of cases that have come out on it. Like people have come out. There have been some cases where people have come out though against other members of the community.
I would hope women in that situation. I can only speak for Johnny's gym because that's the only gym I've been a part of. I hope that they would feel comfortable enough going to Johnny or Daniel.
But the problem is, what if like I were the one doing it, or what if
Right.
Daniel was, like if I'm the one doing it and Daniel's my partner, you might assume like, oh well, Daniel's gonna be cool with whatever John, they're bros, they're not gonna, who are you gonna go
Right.
to then? And I think
guess I'm just
in my
referring
gym-
to student on student. Like,
Yeah.
if I went into
And I've had women come up to me and say, hey, like, I don't know if it was just because we were rolling, like if maybe his hand happened to be there, but like he kind of grabbed me inappropriately. And so just a
You
heads
did it
up.
for 5 minutes straight.
Yeah. And so it was kind of a situation where I was like, well, I mean, like I can't really do much about that, but
the great thing is you
I
have
understand to
women's only jiu-jitsu, which
watch. Yeah.
if I were myself coming in the gym, like that's probably where I would want to start off of, just because like I'm not, I don't, jiu-jitsu is not something that I see myself doing just because I have an issue with being that close to people just personally. But if I ever were going to go to that level, I'd probably feel more comfortable being with a group of girls first.
Yeah.
So that might be a good place for people to start. And if it were you or Daniel that were the ones that the accusations would be about, maybe they could go to that group of people and together they could say something.
In our gym in particular, I think that we have a great group of people
Yeah.
that everybody
and they're
feels
all great
comfortable
girls. I mean,
with. Even the guys in the gym, I think a lot of them. I have had another situation where one guy hit up another girl on Facebook and was like hitting on her, and then every time she came to class, he was like, hey, do you want to partner up? And then she didn't really know how to say no to that, and kept getting like kind of trapped with him, and she had told him she didn't want to like go out with him or anything, and it was just really awkward, and she just didn't want to go anymore because of it.
I honestly, I would probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem saying no to people at this point in my life.
We called the guy out on it and made him feel really bad.
But I understand, like, some people don't have... some people, it's fight, flight, or freeze, and some people's responses aren't what they think that they would be in their heads.
Yeah.
And the situation is different from person to person. So I would hope that someone wouldn't leave because of that and they could resolve it. But honestly, like, if it were a place that I weren't familiar with and that was happening over and over, like, I wouldn't go back.
Yeah.
I mean,
he wasn't doing anything necessarily like out of line. I ended up telling him like, hey, you're being a fucking creep.
Yeah.
And don't think that your money's any more valuable than anybody else's money. So
that's not acceptable anywhere you go or whatever sport you're doing. It shouldn't be that way with anybody.
But that's my opinion on women in BJJ, and I'm sticking to it. The second part of that question, did you have something?
Yes. No. I was getting ready to move on to the second question.
Okay. The second part of the question was, how do you feel about people getting into BJJ at 30 or 40 years old, or an older, more advanced age?
Yeah, I was 23 when I started, so I guess technically I was still young. However, I think people need to remember when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So when I think I've kind of traveled the gamut, and I think you two have as well, Johnny, when I say what I'm getting ready to say. But like, so when I first got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I trained under the Gracie flag, and it was very self-defense oriented, which I thought was great. And you and I have had multiple conversations about self-defense, quote-unquote, self-defense only gyms and your quote-unquote sport jiu-jitsu gyms, even though the quote-unquote self-defense focused gyms at the end of class still drop to their knees, slap hands, and do sport jiu-jitsu rolls.
Yeah.
What the fuck ever. Who fucking cares?
If you're learning sport jiu-jitsu, you better have fucking basic self-defense jiu-jitsu. Like, you have to have
whether
sport
you know it or
jiu-jitsu to
not.
have the other. Yeah.
You know, if you can mount a mount escape is not sport or otherwise. A back defense is not sport or otherwise, right?
Right.
But so the reason I bring that up is because first portion of my career was very self-defense focused, and then I going into brown and purple brown and early part of my black belt was very sport oriented. I enjoyed the sport aspect of it. And now I'm moving into a different phase, not so much sport or otherwise. I don't have the desire to compete as much as I used to. When I did the Submission Hunter Pro with you, I even told you in conversation, like, I was like, dude, I'm actually kind of over this already, and we haven't even done it yet.
Are you really done competing? Because you had brought that up. Go ahead.
I'm not done competing. My current mind state is just not in that realm right now. Like, I'm not focusing on competing. I'm kind of focusing on just getting better at what I'm already doing. And I think it's the realization that, like, I'm not going to be a world champion. I'm not, and I'm still very competitive. It's just, I don't know, like here lately in the past, probably the past 6 months, close to a year, I've really, really, really kind of embraced the combatives piece of martial arts.
Right.
And obviously being up here in Colorado Springs, going through this combatives course has only reinforced that, when you get to, because we've done a lot of different combative pieces, everything from personal protection to special operations combatives to Air Force combatives to cuffing techniques. We even did a whole 3 days on close quarter battles where we're learning how to clear rooms and do, working with 10th Special Forces group and stuff like that. So, like, did you guys do
the cuffing technique where you use like the back of their shirt or whatever?
No, we actually use like handcuffs, what we call expeditionary restraints, which are like your zip ties.
Yeah. There's some way that I've seen where like you can use, like, if they've got a jacket on or whatever, you can bunch up their jacket in order to cuff them. I'm
sure you could. But we did go over like all of that. And so over time, now I'm kind of looking at like, although up here training with Cole Miller and the guys that are here in this course, I'm still doing sport jiu-jitsu with these guys. Like, we still train almost every day after class, put our gis on, do no gi. I picked up some badass gi techniques and some badass deep half guard techniques from Cole that I needed to work on. But at the same time, I look at it and say, like, man, you know, like, what about if I'm at the convenience store, the guy in front of me decides to rob the clerk, and I have a Red Bull can in my hand? Now what?
Mm-hmm.
All the jiu-jitsu in the world doesn't fucking matter, you know, because the gi, you know, we can sit and we can microscopic it down to the finest detail and say, well, if he's wearing a jacket, you could totally lapel choke him. It's like, but fucking stop, just stop. Like, the reality is like, combatives is violent, you know, like, if that dude is trying to rob a clerk at gunpoint, all these stupid conversations that people sit around and have about how they could do this and do that with this lapel choke and berimbolo this, and would just no the fuck you wouldn't. It's violence of action. Like, blow the motherfucker's knee out, skull drag him to the fucking concrete, and hope to God that he's unconscious. You know, like, guns are real, knives are real. You know, and so that's kind of where my focus is going. So how does that tie into the age thing? Here's why.
I was about to say, none of that is answered.
I can sense it. I can sense Johnny getting perturbed. So the point is that age shouldn't matter. If age like if people truly believe that the sport aspect of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is all about, then yes, I can see why they would think that age would matter. Right. But if your focus is a combatives piece, or your focus is supplementing your current martial arts skill with a ground aspect, age doesn't matter. You know?
Oh, no. We
Cut
lost
off.
the call. Oh, that's enough from you, Mitchell.
The phone call was like, enough of this shit.
Yeah, you can fuck right off, Mitchell. Should we call him back? What if we just don't call him? I'm honestly kind of tired of hearing him talk.
Yeah, me too. I got lost. I don't.
Is he ever going to answer that question?
No, I don't think. I forgot what we were talking about.
All right, I'm going to call him back now.
Ugh.
Here we go.
Okay.
I'm not going to edit any of that out.
Please don't.
Did you guys get any of that?
We purposely.
Oh man, we got it all right up into the end.
Johnny purposely hit the end call button because he got tired of hearing
3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been experiencing dropped calls, and we don't know why. We should have opened up with that.
So anyway, whatever the gist of the whole thing is that it's perspective. Whatever your perspective is on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu will dictate whether or not age is a factor.
Perspective is the word that I would also throw out, because here's the way that it was. Again, the differences in our personalities, in our people, in our structure, who we are, is what makes us special and what makes our jiu-jitsu special. So those things should be, we should focus on those things. But the one thing in particular that I was gonna say is that as an older person getting into jiu-jitsu, you can expect more than likely your progress might be a little bit slower, especially at first, which is okay because 10 years to your black belt, it's all relative. You take 4 years to get your blue belt, and then you zip through purple belt, get your brown or whatever, or you take 15 years to get your black belt, whatever. Doesn't matter because they don't put the timeline that it took you on your diploma. You just get your black belt. So my point is, though, that it's probably going to be a little bit more of a struggle at an older age for obvious reasons. You have some movement things that are kind of built in, or that you have built yourself into a groove of moving in particular ways, and things are going to be a little bit more difficult to pick up sometimes. That's not the case with everybody, though. Like I said, everybody's different. I've found that typically it's a little bit harder for people at an advanced age to pick up those initial movements. But with that being said, you can't compare the person. You can't compare yourself with the person next to you. You can only compare yourself to the person that you were, because their struggle isn't the same as yours, and their assets aren't the same as yours. There's so many differences there that you just can't compare it. And I think everybody wants to do that right away. I have a 65-year-old blue belt that will sit there and try to compare himself to my 30-year-old purple belt that's an athlete, and I'm like, dude, he's been doing this for years. He's an athletic specimen, and you're 65. Like, let's take a step back. You're built like a Keebler elf. And
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Cecil.
I know you're talking about.
He's so cute.
Yeah, he's my little Instagram star.
He's one of my favorites.
Every time I post Cecil, we lost him again.
No.
Every time I post Cecil on my Instagram, people go crazy about it.
He's a ladies' man.
Oh, he is.
According to him and everybody else.
Well, yeah, no, I've seen it in person.
Yeah, I know.
He very much is.
I mean, I felt that way. I got that feeling in my spirit the first time I met him.
Yeah, they convinced.
I was drawn to him.
I think all women are.
Yeah.
They convinced when they went to Brazil. Tony Emmanuel, this little Brazilian guy, he convinced this group of girls that Cecil was an American porn star. And so they all went and took pictures with him. God damn it. We keep
Mitch
losing
needs to move to like a different area.
Yeah. I'm going to make him call back so I don't have to.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Mitch, you need to move to like a better area of your apartment or something.
It's not me.
Likely story. It might be me. I don't know why that keeps happening, man.
Me either.
We might not have time to get into our stuff. Why don't we call this an episode? It's gonna be a little bit shorter, but it's an hour and 30 minutes. We got a lot of talking.
So we're not going to talk about our actual topic that we mentioned earlier.
We can save it. Do you want to talk about our? We got 30 minutes.
We can save it. We can save it to because I'll be back in studio on Sunday.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to put my piece in because...
You're still going to get to. We'll put you on
you're gonna be there.
the next episode. Yeah, we got 3 microphones.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Lizzie's like, no, Mitch is coming back. Now I have to go away.
Yeah.
No, that'll be good because I'll have time to ask more questions from our retinal specialist that I work with.
Okay, so episode 11.
That's cool, for
Yeah.
sure.
We're going to talk about sun gazing and why you should do it. Hopefully by then I'll have done a couple hours of sun gazing, get some experience under my belt. So I have some
Absolutely not.
perspective to look at it from.
You won't have anything to look at.
It hasn't been
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You're going to be blind.
it hasn't been sunny the past couple of days, so I need to feed my soul with vitamin D with the rays. Anyways, so we'll talk about that in the next episode since we're dropping Mitch's calls.
Mitch will be here in the flesh next week.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't have any more drop calls.
We won't have any more drop calls.
And we'll be able to rely off of our visual signals, except for Johnny because he'll be blind on when we need to end the conversations.
The sun gazing that he's going to do, which nothing I've read has been good about that.
Absolutely not.
You've been reading different articles than I have. I went to like the sun gazing subreddit and started reading through what they say.
Of course, there's a subreddit for sun gazing. Of course, there is.
All right, we're gonna get too far into this if we keep going.
Let's cut it off.
Oh, we do need to do some housekeeping. Real quick. Okay, our Patreon. This is a sad episode, actually. The first episode that we don't have a Patreon shout out to give.
What?
We haven't had a Patreon donor since the last episode.
We're falling off.
I'm not gonna say that it's your fault, Lizzie Bob, but
you are the only thing that's changed.
Right. So
they want me to come back. They're like, she's only gonna be on 3 episodes. I'm not contributing to this shit anymore.
Yeah. Well,
so bring her back, and then we'll give you the money. And we want T-shirts.
Yeah, we are. Yes. We are working on T-shirts. What we're doing is so here's the plan for everybody that's wondering what's going on with that.
I want a T-shirt.
We're waiting on. I got a girl. She's my T-shirt girl. She's getting a direct-to-garment printer.
Yeah.
When she receives that, we will have T-shirts galore. I mean, we'll have them. We'll have too many T-shirts. We'll be giving them out on the TV show or on the TV show.
On the TV show.
Yeah, big news, guys. We got picked up by CBS.
Yeah. Big
sorry,
news.
on the
That's our
podcast.
episode 10 announcement.
Yeah.
We are going on syndication with CBS, the Rough and Tumble.
Yeah. I don't know why I said TV show. Our T-shirts. We'll be giving out our T-shirts on the show.
That's exciting.
We'll have so many of them, and we'll be able to like print up whatever we want.
I'm a salute for t-shirts.
Me too.
Honestly, I would do anything for a free t-shirt mostly.
Sames.
Yeah.
Mostly.
So our Patreon, if you can give us a boost, I'm going to be sending out patches in the mail this week, as well as stickers. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be sending out patches. I'm ordering patches. We're waiting on those to come in.
You know what I would want?
Expect that in the middle of the month.
This is random. Sorry to interrupt. I would totally want like a pop socket.
Ooh,
Is that
that's a good
lame?
idea. No,
Because
that's
I don't think it
No,
is.
that's not lame.
That's
I heard
not
those
lame at
things are
all.
cool.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't have one.
All right. I'll look into it.
I have really small thumbs, so I need something to like hold the back of my phone because my thumbs won't reach.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Anyway, that was beside the point. But I like pop sockets.
Okay,
so.
let us know if you're
Yeah.
interested in a rough and tumble pop socket. I don't know how to put that in. Okay, anyways. So yeah, check us out on Patreon. We've got more videos coming out soon for that. And then check us on Instagram. I haven't really been posting much on Instagram because we've just been lazy pieces of shit and haven't been doing anything.
I leave the state for 3 weeks and everything falls apart.
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of unmotivating when you're not here. I'm just like, oh.
Great.
It used to be like the time between podcasts was very short. It was like, oh my God, it's already time for a new one. And now it's like, oh, here we go again.
There haven't been any photo
been here
shoots
lately.
done lately.
Yeah, we need to get that done too. We're going to have new ones,
Oh, yeah.
new pictures soon. All waiting on you, Mitch. So
I know. I'll be back.
You really stopped our momentum.
I finished this course on Friday, and then I'll be heading back. I'll stop and visit my mom, and then I'll be back in Arkansas most likely Saturday evening. So I'll be in studio on Sunday for sure.
Cool. So check us out on Instagram. Check us out on YouTube. Listen on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and the Podbean app. And check out our Patreon. Again, if you are trying to search for us on Patreon, make sure you type in the Rough and Tumble Podcast. And you can just go to patreon.com/the Rough and Tumble Podcast. All of those.
ROUGH. I only say that because I've lost track of the amount of people that think we spell it like the Rough Riders.
Well, that's.
It was really hard for me to find it at first too. I'll be honest.
I get it. I'm sorry.
I've had no problems finding it. I
I'm
literally
sorry
went to
that people
Patreon
don't know how to spell.
and typed in the
Words
Rough
are
and
hard.
Tumble
Sorry.
podcast.
Yeah.
Came right up.
Right.
This was also before everything was.
Before we blew up, took
Yeah.
off, and
Yeah, before we got
became
super
the
famous for
celebrities
72.
that we are.
Right.
We have over 100 Instagram followers, so suck it, Trebek.
Yeah, we're at like 130 or something like that. I think that's all of our housekeeping.
Oh,
that we need
you
to
guys
do.
can follow me also.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't ever post on my Instagram, but you can still follow me.
We have personal Instagrams. What's your Instagram name?
It's my full name, Elizabeth Kalegi, ELIZABETH KHALEGHI. It's Leg High. So if anyone wants to follow me, you can. I mean, I never
I follow
post. Okay, yeah. I think I sent you a friend request.
Yeah, you did. Well, we don't have friend requests on Instagram. That's Facebook.
Oh yeah.
This is so
sorry
fucking
about that.
cute.
Yeah, but if you you guys can DM me if you want to talk or have questions. Totally down for that.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, nobody
be
has ever
watching.
DM'd me asking me questions.
Dude, that's not true. I know that that's not true.
That's
You've
100%.
sent me DMs.
Those
that
were like
you've done.
screenshots of text messages.
That still counts.
No one's ever slid into your DMs.
Nope.
I
I don't
find
ever
that-
have any of our fans say, "Hey, Mitch, great show. You guys should talk about this." They only do it to Johnny.
Huh.
Because they know.
Johnny found like 6 soulmates because of this.
I did. I found a couple of soulmates.
I'm
I
not
also.
surprised.
I think somebody's messaging me that shouldn't be. Messaging me. Some people message me. I'm like, who is this? You gotta do some investigatory work.
I had a few messages after the first podcast I was on. It was just really cool to talk to people.
Yeah,
It was people I already knew, but it was still cool to talk to
Yeah.
them.
It's just
They're
fun.
like, "Get rid of that Mitch guy."
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can follow Lizzie Bop on her Instagram.
Should I change my name to Lizzie Bob?
Lizzie Bop.
I think I should.
I think you should.
Yeah.
You can
It's probably
follow.
easier to find.
Probably.
Nobody knows how to spell Kalegi.
Yeah.
That's
Even
true.
though it's like really not hard. But yeah.
Well, I would disagree.
Leg high.
Nope, no clue.
Yeah. Okay. I give up.
What's your Instagram, Mitch? God, it takes us fucking 15
Okay,
minutes
let
to
me
get through
let
our
me let me think of.
damn Instagram
I want to guess
names.
it. It's Mitch Hall BJJ, right?
No, it's Mitch Hall BJ.
I like that better.
There's only one J.
Yep.
BJ.
MitchHallBJ.com.
BJ.
Is that your
Yep,
professional
look
Instagram or is it your private?
I told you I had a lot of projects going on right now.
Okay, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Mitch Hall BJ on Instagram and Compton Johnny COMPTONJONNY. You can.
Now I'm gonna have to go look up Mitch Hall BJ just to see who that is.
someone's gonna be
I'm
getting
sure
a
I
lot of
won't
follows.
be Yeah.
It's some guy named Mitch giving blowjobs in a hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram, and then I think that's all that we have. We should start a Facebook fan page. I think that's our next step.
Well, I'll let you guys run that. I don't have Facebook.
I don't have Facebook either.
either.
I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of Facebook.
I hate Facebook so much.
Then let's not do
Sorry.
it. It's
Okay.
Your mom
it's
now,
decided.
so-
It's been decided.
No Facebook,
We're
sorry.
not doing a Facebook fan page. So
Facebook sucks.
Unless everybody wants one, and so let us know. In which case, we'll make Johnny do it anyways.
if I get 130 DMs.
Then we'll make your
From-
mom do it because she's the Facebook queen.
Oh yeah, my mom can do
Can
it.
you
I
imagine?
would love for your mom to run the Facebook.
Can
That'd
you
be so
imagine? We would blow up.
That would be my worst nightmare.
Yeah. We'd blow
legit.
up.
What's your
like
mom's first name?
No.
Angela.
Is it Angela or are you lying?
It's Angela Han Wester.
Can we call her
Sorry.
Angie? Can we call her Angie?
I call her Angie.
I'm not comfortable with this. I'm gonna delete this out of the
You
podcast.
better not. She's gonna be so excited that you actually talked about her.
I've talked about her several times on the podcast. Just
Oh, I've talked about her.
yeah.
I envisioned her as a Peggy, but Angie works too.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
Okay, anyways. Great episode, guys. Yep.
Let's
All right.
wrap it up.
Well, that's a wrap. I
All
never
right.
know how to end these things.
You
know?
don't.
All right. Well,
We'll see you guys next time.
love you.
Bye bye.
Hope you mean it.
Bye.